Welcome to the Founderville.vc podcast. This is a podcast where we talk to founders and to entrepreneurs, people in the startup ecosystem, anybody that cares about startup community. And today, super happy to have a good friend of the podcast, one of the people that's been engaged in Founderville really since day one, Mr. Eric Weissman of NextGen. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hello, Shay.
Yeah, it's good to see you, pal.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the winter storm.
I know. This is going to time us from this.
It's like bread and milk, right? The grocery stores are barren.
Left. It was like we went to Publix or Harris Teeter last night. There was no potatoes. I didn't know potatoes were a thing. Okay. Like the shelf was out.
That's funny.
We were walking through like, oh, maybe we need potatoes. We can't get any today. But.
Well, my fiance kind of panicked last night about 6 o'clock. She's like, we got to get some groceries. I don't feel like going out. So she ordered one of the delivery services. And they're supposed to be there at like 7:30. Then it was 8. Then it was 8:30. They showed up at 11 o'clock last night. Wow. And the guy said, man, you don't understand. The grocery stores are slammed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll see.
Total craziness.
Yeah. It's a good time for startup opportunity.
That's exactly right. You never know what's out there for us.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to see you, man. Thanks for coming out. I know
Sure.
you're a busy man, so I appreciate you making the 20-minute drive outside of the big city out to Pelham Road.
Got it. Found it.
Yeah, good deal. Appreciate it. Well, look, tell us about NextGen. I'm super familiar with NextGen. Yeah. I'm a lifelong fan, and try to be engaged.
Involved with NextGen for a long time.
Long time.
So NextGen stands for the Greenville Entrepreneur Network. We threw those 3 letters on the end of it, but it started off as Next.
Yeah.
And this was probably 18, 20 years ago. Started as a program that was offered through the Greenville Chamber. As of July of this past year, we're independent now.
How about
that? So NextGen is its own entity. We're own 501c3, have our own operating agreements and all that sort of stuff. And that was always part of the plan. So I've been here for just 4.5 years, which to some extent feels like 4.5 weeks. And then sometimes it feels like 4.5 decades, like I've been here forever. But it's been a great journey. So I'll explain a little bit about NextGen, then maybe go through a little bit of my background. But so as I said, the Greenville Entrepreneur Network, we do 3 things. The first thing we do is steward this broader entrepreneurial ecosystem, that which we've given the nickname to Startup Greenville. Mm-hmm. So that's one overarching brand, kind of a lowest common denominator, encompassing about 65 different entrepreneur support organizations, events, networking type of things. We've created a map, a resource map that has all those laid out. We just rolled out the new version of that. Okay. So that's on our website and on startupgreenville.com.
Oh, cool.
So startupgvl.com, that's us. That's the mouthpiece. That's the megaphone for this whole ecosystem. Once a month, we get that group together, sit around a table. We usually get around, 20-some people from 15 different organizations at any one time. We give everybody about 4 minutes to say, what'd you do last month? Where'd you get stuck? What you use help with? Where can we cheer you on? What's coming down the pike? But it really helps everybody stay connected so we can see where the gaps are in the ecosystem, where are the overlaps, who's carving through the ecosystem like a warm knife through butter, like Pixel Mob, those types of who's working ahead as they gone through these programs. And then really identify those gaps. Where do people get stuck? Mm-hmm. Where do they come into the ecosystem? Where do they drop out of the ecosystem? Why do we have so many of this type of resource and not enough of that type of resource? But that's the first thing we do is really steward this broader entrepreneurial ecosystem. The second thing we do is provide direct support to high-growth founders and their teams through a series of about 6 programs, services, and events. Those run the gamut from education type events. We partnered together on our accelerator. We did that 3 times, I think. We learned from that. We broke apart that accelerator curriculum now into what we call growth labs. So focusing on customer discovery. Another one will focus on sales. Another one will focus on marketing, which are 2 different things. Yeah. But that's our education program. We do workshops, things like that. These types of trying to meet the founders where they are, and not just do something as a blanket program. I have a mentorship continuum, leading off with our venture mentoring service, which has been around. That's kind of a hallmark program from the days of Next. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary of that this past year. So about 40 mentors and 20 teams. It's group mentoring, the whole drill there. But group mentoring isn't right for everybody, but it's perfect for some. Some of the startups really like it because they use that as an advisory board, somebody that they can bounce things off of. But we also have individual mentoring opportunities. So an entrepreneur in residence program.
Okay.
We've got Mentor Deck, which is a software that allows you to find subject matter experts that you need at that moment in time, kind of like a profile or a filter on your LinkedIn to be able to say, I'm good at executive coaching, international sales, or I need help with my website user experience. You can find the right mentor to help you out there. And then office hours is really the simplest thing, where you have somebody from Venture South or somebody from local law firm. Kim Leahy uses a lot. They come in a lot. And there's going to be, so-and-so is going to be sitting at the office from 11 to 2, sign up for a 30-minute time. Really. And then the last kind of program that we run are on the networking side. We have 3 different roundtables that we offer to founders that are in fintech or in textiles, wearables, and food and beverage. Probably going to combine some of those and just call them CPG. But anyway, they're affinity groups of folks that are in the soup together, and they want to learn from each other of where did you get stuck? I can help you get unstuck there, and can somebody else help me out here? But that's in general what we do. On the event side, our signature event is Next Venture Summit. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Sure. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that later. Where we bring in 25 investors from all over the country to meet with. Last year we had 45 startups from around the region. That's great. We curate them in speed dating. You've been involved in that since day one too. But that's our way of kind of banging the trash can and getting people to come and see, getting them out of the woodwork and see what's going on here in Greenville. So we steward the ecosystem, provide direct support to startups and their teams. And the third thing we do is measure the impact. Is any of this working?
I just saw the report, I think, right?
Yeah, thank you. The impact report came out last Wednesday.
Okay.
So that's us with our finger on the pulse. We want to have the heartbeat of now. That impact report really represents the founders that we're working with, the ones that are eating our ice cream, that come in through our doors, that are consuming our services. Last year, we broke that out to also include alumni. Companies that haven't been through our programming, ChartSpan would be a good example of that. A real stalwart company in the startup Greenville ecosystem, but they didn't go through the accelerator. They're not in the VMS program, but they were. They were involved in a lot of our programming, back in the day. So we need to keep an eye on them, so we can say, how's it going, and where have you been, and what's going on. A little tease of the future. This year, 2026, I want us to do a Startup Greenville census.
Okay, what's that look like?
So when you think about what we learned a couple of years ago was, like I said, the impact report of the people that come in through our door that we're talking to and that are interacting with us. And we ask them a series of questions, but 3 basic questions. Are you making money? If yes, how much? What's the range? Where's it coming from? What do we need to know? If you're not making money, revenue, whatever you want to say. If you're not making money, how can we help? Why not? What is it a matter of? You can't find the right customer system. What's holding you back? Second question is, are you raising money? Now that's not right for everybody, but it still is indicative of the health of an ecosystem. If you are raising money, how much? What's the range? What's it coming from? Is this institutional dollars? Are these friends and family? Where's that money coming from? If you're not raising money, why not? How can we help? So making money, raising money. And the third question is, are you hiring? At the end of the day, we're part of the economic development strategy of the city of Greenville. Greenville County, this is where we get our funding from as well. So the city of Greenville has been a stalwart supporter. Greenville County, so we get funding from both of those organizations, which I think is unique. Still get and very connected to the chamber, as a part of that growth. And then Hollingsworth Funds is another one of our key foundational supporters. So we feed that information back to them because they're depending on how do we grow and how do we raise our per capita income here. That's one of the things that keeps a lot of people up at night here is that the fact that our per capita income in Greenville has been shrinking away from the national average since 1995.
Wow.
It peaked in 95 and has been shrinking since.
No kidding. I had no idea.
Yeah. And now we're below the South Carolina average.
Jeez.
So Charleston is picking some of that up. But that's where we need to address in the startup ecosystem of bringing in knowledge workers, bringing in and also introducing entrepreneurship to the entire ecosystem, to the entire community. They need to visualize that. They need to see that type of success. They need to know that that's happening here in my backyard, and we can do this. Greenville is, and South Carolina really is not. Entrepreneurship isn't new, and successful entrepreneurs aren't new.
Absolutely not. We've got a great history.
Correct, but we gotta talk about those, and we gotta see those entrepreneurs recycle into the ecosystem like you and Scott have to come back in and say, now we're doing this and we did this, led these companies, and now I kind of want to do this, and recycle yourself in there. So we're still young when it comes to that, of recycling our entrepreneurs.
I think so. I think we got there's a lot of growth opportunity in that particular area.
Yeah. So when you look at other more established ecosystems, entrepreneur ecosystems, that's one of the traits that I keep track of, which is it's a qualitative thing, right? I can't put my finger on it, but how many of these and what's the makeup of the folks that come to your events, that come to things. So anyway, so the Startup Greenville Census started because, or the idea started because I knew we were only talking to one swath of the people that we interact with. There's that second tranche, which are people that have gone through the programs, that have gone through this stuff, that just haven't anymore. Well, I can't lose touch with them.
Yeah, right.
Because that really is a good picture of, were it not for some of these early connections, were it not for the mentor program, and I won't name names because they've kind of asked me not to, but there was a company this year who had a big exit event and gives NextGen a lot of credit for several key introductions.
That's huge.
And several key points that, were it not for fill in the blank, I would have turned left instead of right, and I'm so glad I turned right.
Yeah.
So those happen. Those happen a lot. And I also like to say that success has 1,000 fathers, and failure dies an orphan. Nobody wants to take claim for that. So we got to watch that. But were it not for us at some point in that, these are before I got here.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only been here for 4.5 years, but before that, it was there's a lot of people that helped out. So those are two areas that we NextGen can reach out to. Well, there's a whole third persona of people that have never gone through our programs, that have never, they don't want to, but they're successful founders. They're successful companies. So who's talking to them?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had coffee with two different gentlemen this week, and they're sort of new to town. Or they're relatively new, or they've been here, but they've been engaged with another company for a while, and they're now fractional work, or they're sort of close to retirement age. They don't want to go back to work for anybody, and they're, how do I get plugged in? I'm like, well, you need to talk to NextGen. They're like, well, what's that? I'm like, really? Okay, we got to get you plugged in with Eric right now, because this is like, there's a key demographic of startups and early stage companies that can't afford full-time resources yet, but need quality experience help. And these are people that we've got to have in the ecosystem, and getting them plugged in, I think, is so important. It can't just be the small handful of service providers. It's got to be a larger group that are providing support to the startups.
And a lot of that has to be organic too. Now I want to contradict myself a little bit, that while we do provide bespoke programming and curriculum-driven and cohort-driven types of opportunities, a lot of this has to be built on its own.
Yeah.
And that's the way that the best communities run, when it's founder-led, when you've got founders that are noticing something, and they get together, and the people that are blowing your phone up, they may never come in the traditional front door. To the Next Innovation Center at 411 University. They're not going to come in. They're not going to come into Flywheel. They're not going to come into those traditional front doors. So we've got to acknowledge that you came in the back door. You came in through the garage. You came in through somebody else, but you're here in the ecosystem.
Now you're here.
You're right. You're right. So only talking about, back to the census, only talking to the people that came into the front door is not a complete picture.
Yeah.
Now, how do you find that, and how do you get those people to respond? We're going to have to figure that out.
Sure.
But imagine a combination of everyone that Hill Institute is working with and has worked with, everybody that Village Launch has worked with, everybody that Launchpad has worked with, everybody that, and we combine that. And there are software platforms that will do that for entrepreneurial ecosystems. Like the entire state of California is on this. It's called Startup Space, and I give a little plug for them. Yeah. But that's where we're leaning towards. That is to what if we could have a database that took all the people that were in the Founderville pipeline or that you're working with, which a lot of the companies that are in your portfolio have tripped those wires, and they are working with these other organizations. But we've got to aggregate that. And we've got to take a look at, where are our opportunities? Where do we stack up to ourselves 4, 5, 10, 15 years ago? Who are our peer cities? Who should we be comparing ourselves to?
Who
would it be ridiculous to compare ourselves to? I think Boulder, Austin, applaud those. We're not like them.
No, we're not there.
Yeah, and we're not like even Raleigh. Raleigh's right up the road, and they have an enviable amount of startups that are going through there, and it's easy to kind of to look at them as a peer city, but I don't want to.
Yeah, just because it's relatively close on the map
Correct.
does not mean it's a similar comparison. No doubt about it. I think there's certain cities like we were talking about earlier before we got kicked off. I mean, it's like finding the best of each different locale and then putting our own special flavor on it, our spin on it. It's okay to copy what other people are doing. Yep. Like I'll do it all day long.
So those are the 3 things we do.
That's a lot.
Steward the ecosystem, provide direct support, and then measure the impact.
How big is the NextGen team at this moment?
5.
5 of y'all? Okay.
Including myself, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Golly. You got to us through Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I really don't even honestly know your background prior to Cincinnati. So I'd love to just to hear a little bit more about like how you found yourself working with founders all the time.
So I'm a marketing guy.
Okay.
That's kind of how I came up and through the ranks. Graduated from Ohio State with a degree in marketing. My first job was with Fifth Third Bank. So I started on the retail management side. Went through the management training program, but I always wanted to be in marketing. And at the time, bank marketing isn't usually a big department, and I didn't have any experience. And they were like, just kind of stay where you are. We'll keep making a good name for yourself, all that sort of stuff. But I grew impatient, and another dream that I had was to work for the Walt Disney Company. So my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife and the mother of my 2 children, we picked up and left Cincinnati and went to Central Florida.
No kidding.
And wanted to work for Disney. So I had some connections through. I was on the Walt Disney World College program. There was an internship program that they had, and had maintained those connections, and ended up with Disney Cruise Line marketing.
Dang.
And my wife Kelly worked for Disney Sports.
That had to be fun.
Yeah. So for 2.5 years, we were in Central Florida. But that's where I cut my teeth in corporate marketing. So then I came back to Fifth Third, back to Cincinnati, and worked in marketing.
Okay.
So I was in marketing for Fifth Third for about 7+ years.
Got it.
Took an opportunity and joined a production company that was a client of mine, or a vendor of mine, at Fifth Third, who was much more creative and much more responsive than the agencies I was supposed to be working with. And I ended up running creative services for them. So that was, website design and development. We did a lot of events and still did staging and lighting. And they wanted to get out of the commodity world of, why is your microphone 5 cents more than this person's microphone? And I always thought they were just more. It was about the message. It was about the story that was being told. But that got me into really the small business side of things. We weren't a big firm by any stretch. And I had to learn to going from these 2 entities that were gigantic to now a small DSC creative. Then, nobody's calling me back. Nobody's answering my emails. Yeah, who's again? Like, I was just over here. But that got me into, really having appreciation for, you have to eat what you kill. Sorry for the metaphor there, but you got to go out and find it.
That's truth.
If I'm not going out there and hunting and finding the beast and skinning it and cutting and cooking and bringing it back to the village, we don't eat.
Yeah.
So we got to have something to work on.
Yeah.
So that was a big change. went from there to a serial entrepreneur who owned 17 different companies. Wow. And one of those was application development. They did software, and they wanted to have a visualization layer, a presentation layer over the kind of boring stuff that they did. So we wanted to have a creative services group. So I started one up there, and that got me introduced to the startup world of an idea a minute. Let's make $10,000 bets instead of $100,000 bet. What can we? How many of these things can we keep going? And I was networking with a guy in town, and he asked me, if I thought about this organization called Centrifuge that was being started. And I had heard a little bit about it, these rumblings, and I said, look, I'm not a startup guy. I'm much more conservative than that. I'm really, that's not something that I think I'd be interested in. And he's like, well, I think you should think about it because it really does, and this has been true, it marries, and it's a good tapestry of my whole career. So this organization, Centrifuge, was the brainchild of a group called the Cincinnati Business Committee, which is 30 or so of the area's top CEOs. Okay. I'm sorry, CEOs from the area, from 30 of the top companies in town, which are some of the top companies in the country of, Procter & Gamble, Kroger, Fifth Third Bank, Children's Hospital, UC,
it's a big
all that
corporate
sort of
support.
Right. And they wanted to find a way for the region to grow and remain relevant without depending on them. Because once you get to be a certain size, you're getting rid of as many people a year as you hire when you're that big. Yeah. And that's doom for a city like Cincinnati, which has 8 Fortune 500 companies headquartered there. Golly. And there's always going to be some activist shareholder or some outside pressure to get rid of middle management, or we got to get rid of 5,000 jobs. So this group commissioned the McKinsey Group to do a study on our innovation ecosystem, which is like paying somebody $400,000 to tell you your baby is ugly, which you already knew. But from that report, they really found out 3 things. One, from a city of our size, we needed to have more money coming from the outside. And I've said this before, if you want to grow, you can't keep asking the same 5 people for money, right? We need to introduce new capital. Second thing was you've got an ecosystem. It's not that there's nothing happening here. There's an accelerator over here, a university program there. There's an incubator up here. But everybody's kind of playing their own notes, but it's not making a song, right? You need a conductor of the orchestra or a lifeguard in the pool. And then the third thing, there was no locus or concentration of activity. You needed a clubhouse. You needed a place that people could gather that was still that Switzerland, that neutral ground. So Centrifuge was formed to solve all of that, and I was on the founding team of that organization. So that got me into this entrepreneur support. And the way that it was an exhaustive process to do a lot of these interviews and to talk to a lot of people about what the region needed. And I like to say we moved a lot of people's cheese. So this was something that at the time there wasn't a good how do I say it? People were questioning, what does Procter & Gamble know about entrepreneurship? When has anyone at P&G ever sold their car to make payroll? What are you guys doing in this field? So we had to really prove what I call my version of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. We had to prove that we're here for good. We're trying to help. This is a constructive exercise here. Right. And from those learnings and from that creation of this brand that really started around a hashtag, and it was hashtag Startup Cincy. That started before I got there, but I knew that was a neutral phrase and that was something that everybody could rally behind. Right. So we created a brand behind that. So I don't have the playbook, Shay. I just have a playbook.
Well, but I mean, you said a couple things that I feel like are so important that are still some missing ingredients that we need in our soup here. I mean, I think the corporate support is an area that there's room for improvement, right? And we've got some great large corporations here, not just the brand names that we all know, but other really large companies, and getting them to get more engaged in this big picture of like the median, salary is dropping or trailing behind.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big issues that have to be tackled,
Yeah.
and not any one person can do it. It takes a group.
And I've seen it firsthand that a strong startup ecosystem makes it easier for Kroger to hire people. It will make it easier for Michelin to hire people
Right.
here. It will be a symbiotic relationship.
Sure.
So anyway, that got me back to the moving a lot of people's cheese. You learn this stuff that, because not everybody was as welcoming because we were created, Centrifuge was created because things weren't going too great.
Yeah.
And now I'm proud to say 10, 12, 15, however long it is later, can't remember now when it was, I guess it was 13 years ago.
Wow.
Now there is that adoption in Cincinnati of we are a community and you can have these different ports. And of course you've got, investors that have their own perspective and incubators that want to have their own perspective, but we're all part of the same community. I learned, so back, this was about 2012, 2013. You remember Steve Case,
of course.
the America Online and former head of Time Warner, and he after he left that, became a venture capitalist.
Rise of the Rest.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it was the rise of the rest. So Cincinnati was stop number 3 on tour number 1.
No kidding.
And
That's cool.
so that got me introduced to wait a minute, you're going somewhere after us?
Yeah.
You were somewhere before you got to where we are. There's other people doing this.
Yeah.
Can I talk to them?
Yeah. Okay.
Can I see what they're up to? Can we get all together? And that's when I started to realize that these entrepreneurial ecosystems exist. And they each have their own ingredients, which is kind of like chili. Everybody's got their own ingredients of chili, but we all call it chili.
Yeah.
You can put beans in yours. In Cincinnati, they put it over spaghetti. But, we all call it chili.
Right.
So everybody's got their own combination of that. It's just a matter of figuring that out. So I become a real student of entrepreneurial ecosystems and trying to learn from best practices of others. I was very involved with the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. Here's this foundation that's got Scrooge McDuck money that just is billions of dollars in endowment. And a guy named Andy Stoll got a group, 300 of us together into Kansas City at this E-Ship Summit. And it was inspirational, right, to be with people that are doing the same things that you're doing and trying to move this industry forward. And he was challenging us from stage to say, what if we all agreed that entrepreneurs need communities? Communities are really ecosystems. Ecosystems, because they're complicated, need builders. So what if entrepreneurial ecosystem building were a thing? What if it was something you could study? What if it was a practice? What if it was something you could be good at? What if you could study it? What if it was a major? Sports management is a major.
Yeah.
Urban planning is civil engineering with a couple things slapped onto it. So it was just kind of challenging from the States. That's where they wanted to go. And I was getting pretty fired up in the audience. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. So at that next break, I called my friends at Miami University called Mark Lacker and said, I want to teach a class on entrepreneurial ecosystem building. And they bit. It took a couple years, but we're in the midst of, I think it's probably our 22nd semester now.
Oh, wow.
Of and we can talk about that university entrepreneurship, but I believe that I can't teach you how to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
You either are one or you're not. Now I can make you a better one.
Right.
I can't coach you to be taller, but I can make you a better but I can make you a better free throw shooter.
Yeah.
I can teach you better defense. I can do. So there are really one persona when you look at that realm and say, we're just focusing on the engine, the locomotive of the train, the founder, the Shea Hauser that's got the idea that won't let go of it, and for you just gotta keep pushing on. Well, there's more cars that make up that train than just the founder.
Yeah.
So we need to find those people that want to work with. I don't have the idea. Right. I don't have the drive, but man, I get fired up when I work with you. And man, I like your idea. So I want to be part of it. Well, I contend there's a third persona, and that's an ecosystem builder that sits on the front of the train and gets stuff off the tracks.
Yes, I think that's great.
We're removing obstacles because similarly, I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never sold my car to make payroll, never did, but I get along with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I understand what they're looking for. I tend to be a lot more patient than entrepreneurs. I'm a lot more diplomatic.
Yes.
So it's a matter. So that's where ecosystem building comes in to say, we gotta marry that. I can't have my own. It's not my goals. It's I need to listen to you,
right?
And I need to listen to the and pay attention to the trends and pay attention to what's happening and really eliminate those obstacles so that we all win.
Yeah.
So that this system works. And anyway, that's kind of a
that's super
long-winded
cool.
story, but marketing guy by trade.
Yeah.
Fell into this entrepreneurial ecosystem building. It's really economic development 2.0.
Yeah.
Because I contend you can't find me a city, county, region, state, country that says we don't want to help entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, everybody wants to do it. I mean, you have a hard job. You have probably thankless job at some points. I mean, I think I couldn't do what you do. That is for sure. And you mentioned it earlier. You have patience and ability of diplomacy that the typical founder, like I'll step on toes, not intentionally, not meaning to hurt anybody, just because I'm not patient. I'm simply not patient at all, right?
Right.
But thinking through all the resources that we have in Greenville, the different organizations, that is hard to quarterback all that stuff. But you've done a great job doing it, and I appreciate what you do very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun, and I think that's what I want to continue to be on the front edge of that. From how do we support these types of entrepreneurs, and how do you record and track the effectiveness without just saying you got to give me 20 years.
Yeah.
You got to give me, because the old saying, when's the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago? Well, the second best time is today. We need to start now.
Right.
So when traditional economic development gets a lot of they get a little bit of a hard take at it when they say you can't hold me accountable to this. You're just going to know that this worked. I know that there are milestones that you can reach along the way.
Yeah.
And I know there are things you can track. They may not be the right things, but we got to track something.
Well, the stuff that you're tracking, I think, is super important. I mean, these are key ingredients into the ecosystem being built. Whether it's money being raised or how many jobs were created. Right. I mean, that's tangible. That everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know that the drive that we're doing here, everything's making sense, like it's coming together. So
now, where my friend Chris Hively, just to interrupt real quickly, because there's an equal part of ecosystem building that says don't measure quantity, because that's not, you can't gamify that.
Okay.
We just need 400 startups. Let's go get them.
Right.
No. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's a blended thing. You got to track something.
Sure.
If I want to go run a marathon, I don't go tomorrow and run 26.2 miles. I train for it.
Right.
And when you get to that first long run, that first 8 or 9 miles, you know, uh-oh.
Glad I didn't try 26.
Or you realize, I think I got this.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing the right things.
Yeah.
I think I'm on so that's what we're tracking.
Right.
That's why just had a coffee today with a founder who was kind of questioning some of the things that we're tracking and why and where does that lead to. And I wanted to tell him, or I did tell him, like these are data points.
Yeah.
Which we were saying it's 52 degrees right now. Boop, put a dot in.
Yeah.
It's 42 degrees. Like that's the data. And then we need to go back and say, well, why aren't we growing coffee here? Well, we're not growing coffee because did you see the average temperature is only, okay, got it. Thank you. I'm glad you tracked that.
Right.
So that's kind of a silly metaphor, but that's just, we have to track something.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're as an economic support organization or development organization.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dependent upon dollars,
Correct.
and those dollars are coming from a place, and they want to know. So it's sort of it's part of the overall job that you got to do is to collect this information and figure out what it looks like. Where as you look at what are the things that get you fired up about Greenville and the upstate and what we're building here? Like if you look out a couple of years, I mean, the Next Venture Summit's going to continue to expand. We've got inbound growth here from people moving into the city. It's like nothing else, right? As fast as we're growing. Although we're not the fastest growing county in the state. I mean,
Right,
there's
Myrtle Beach.
Horry County is growing like a weed. Charleston is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not the only ones out here, banging the drum saying
Correct.
we're doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
What does get you fired up about the things that you're seeing in terms of maybe the amount of entrepreneurs or the level of entrepreneur, or what are the things that really excite you today?
So a number of things. One is that potential that we've got, that we are an attractive place to raise a family, to move to, and a lot of that has been due over the past several decades, where the city of Greenville and Greenville County and the region have emphasized quality of life as an economic development driver. And we got a green check mark. I mean, got that, nailed it.
Nailed it.
So now we're turning to what types of companies, or what are the types of companies that can be successful in a dense urban environment like we've got in Greenville. Right. We don't need there's not a lot of shovel-ready land here anyway. Yeah. So who can be successful in an environment like that that is capital efficient, that is making the use of fewer people but more higher skilled level at that. So we've got potential, and it's not we're not in the Great White North. We're not someplace you got to talk somebody in to moving to. I also get inspired when I look at other examples of our peer cities or states that have rallied around innovation and entrepreneurship. Yeah. And I say this offhandedly, but with a kernel of truth. We're going to be the 47th state to figure this out if we're not careful. Yeah. Other states that are of our size, of our ilk, are rallying. South Carolina is 7th out of 9 southeastern states in terms of venture activity. That's from the BIP Ventures State of the Southeast report. We got passed last year by Alabama. That coincidentally has Innovate Alabama, which among other things does a wealth of support for entrepreneur support organizations. In February of last year, they distributed $17 million to ESOs throughout the state.
Wow, no kidding.
So they're very serious about it.
Jeez.
But Shay, they're tracking things.
Yeah.
They're tracking research, they're tracking patents, they're tracking founders, they're tracking 3-year-old companies, 5-year-old companies, how many 5-year-old companies stick around to 10-year-old companies. That's what we have to start doing. Yeah. So I'm very serious about accountability. Yeah. I think that we need to be upfront with that as organizations, to say, oh man, this isn't working. Yeah. And we need to pivot, or we need to change things up. Other organizations can be kind of intimidated by that level of accountability, of don't measure me and don't look at that, and, just leave me alone. And I kind of you remember it was one of the Batman movies where Bane, the bad guy, is and he's kind of confronting Batman, and he says, "Are you afraid of the dark?" Yeah. I was born in the dark. So are you afraid of accountability? Right. I was born in accountability. This is what
you need it.
Exactly.
Gotta have it.
So, but not one thing, and you never change that. Yeah. There needs to be factors. And that's why I call us the Fitbit of the ecosystem, the Strava platform. We were measuring a bunch of different things. Right. And not just your heart rate, or not just your cadence or your pace, or there's a bunch of that factors into it. So we have to do that. So there's the potential that I get excited about. And I get excited about the willingness from at the state level. I don't want to go into too much there, but just understand that there are the winds are slowly shifting to, so what are you talking about? So what's this now? Yeah. And what's happening?
Interesting.
And there are models. Yeah. There are models that we can look after. That's not Boston. It's not New York City. Right. It's not Palo Alto. I'm not trying to be any of that sort of stuff. But we got to learn. There's more people live in Atlanta than live in the entire state of South Carolina.
That's right.
That's we are what we are.
That's not a fair comparison, right? I mean, obviously, but I'm also one. I'll be the first one to say, hey, in 2023, Atlanta raised more venture capital than the entire state of South Carolina did in the previous 5 years. That's not fair, right? It's not fair. But I say that to try to drive home the point of, look, there's a long way for us to go. We're these baby steps, but they're important baby steps for us to eventually walk. But if we're number 7 of 9 in the Southeast, that's not where we want to be. And there's other markets that are doing stuff that's really cool that we can copy, like we talked about earlier. But, that's also competitive. That's competition. Like, we need to respond to the competition and address it because we don't want to lose out. And we can't continue to be, I don't think, dependent upon, and I don't want to get on my high horse, but and you know how I feel about this, but dependent upon just manufacturing or hospitality industries. I don't want to see us there in 20 years, and we very easily could be if we don't make some decisions now, like planting the tree today for 20 years from now.
Right. Greenville is on an impressive amount of lists, right? Yes. We're in the best southern cities with the Christmas parade, silly things, the best place to retire and all that.
Sure.
Well, none of us want to be on the lists, that say, whatever happened to Greenville?
What happened to that place?
Right. So we've got to worry about that. And I know that the economic development folks at the city and the county are all paying attention to that level of diversity. I know that's a fraught word now, but I don't mean it in any way that we can't put all of our chips in one side and say this better work.
Right.
That's what we are. Yeah. I mean, look at some of the things that are happening, this week of where the winds are going to go. We need to have a ready strategy for.
Well, we're not so far off from the textile meltdown that occurred that impacted the upstate 50 years ago and 40 years ago. I mean, that we were peaking and then it fell apart. I mean, that can happen again. And I think the seeds that are getting planted now with entrepreneurship, the work that you're doing and a lot of others are doing, it's great to hear that the city and the county and people are, I'm not saying they were asleep to it, but they're it's starting to really connect, which is there's other ways to build this overall infrastructure that's here.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. They weren't asleep to it. They've been supporters of Next and now NextGen, and that's great. Yeah. And when I looked at this opportunity, 4.5 years ago, and saw there's a couple things like you want to see that city support, that public support. That's important. Yeah. And so to get their vote of confidence is great, and we're still building on that.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed with a lot of maybe other markets, I mean, you've got a couple things that have happened in the maybe the larger markets, certainly like a Cincinnati, where there is more corporate involvement. Yeah. That's visionary what they did in Cincinnati when you've got organizations like that saying, we can't be dependent upon us.
Right.
We're Procter & Gamble, but we can't, like, Cincinnati cannot depend on us.
Correct.
We've got to bring more in here.
Yep.
And if we can do more of that, I think it would be helpful. Another trend that I've noticed in other markets that I'm trying to beat this drum here is the entrepreneurs that build and sell their company to private equity, or they have a big exit. It's this big windfall. Don't pack up and go to Charleston. Don't pack up and go to Sarasota. Right. Like, stay here and reinvest here, build here. It's the recycling, and I still think that's one area where we can definitely improve and getting more of that. And I think it's just it takes people beating the drum and telling the story and reminding them this is what helps build the ecosystem: is recycle, reinvest in this area. I think it happens a lot with real estate, I've noticed, but I think from technology we've got some room to grow there.
I think that back to what you said about some of the conversations that you're having with folks that don't know that there's an ecosystem here. That's where we need to have that ready on-ramp to say, you don't need to go through a program. You don't need to be a mentor. You just need to be aware of this.
Yes.
So I'm going to cough again. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, but it takes, I think it's like anything. It takes time. I mean, you're trying to sort of herd a lot of cats. There's a lot of organizations that are out there doing different work, and everybody's trying to pave their own way. But we need the conductor to help pull all this stuff together.
You're all a part of it.
Everybody's a part of it. Nobody's trying to intentionally step on each other's toes or whatever. Everybody's trying to do their own thing. But collectively, we build together.
Yeah. So whether you are a founder or want to be a founder, you're a part of Startup Greenville.
Yes.
Whether you're an investor or want to be an investor, you're a part of it. If you're just a fan clapping for the parade on the side of the street that wants your town to remember, you're a part of Startup Greenville. That's the community aspect of it.
It's a beautiful thing.
And, there are no wrong front doors. However you came in, you're in. Here you're in. And now, all we have to do is be open to, I think there's an issue here.
Yeah.
I think, we've got a dead end and nobody can raise more than $50,000. And so that's when you guys raised 6 point whatever, that was impressive.
Yeah, it was great.
And to do it with a few, you did it with several dozen, but there are other ecosystems I'm familiar with that needed to double or triple the amount of LPs to get to that fund.
Yes.
So
yes.
We need that.
And it's a never-ending process.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm out pounding the pavement again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this has been great, man. It's been good to catch up. I really appreciate you coming out. I appreciate, like I said before, everything you do for the ecosystem. I don't think we'd be where we are today, and I think we've made huge progress without the work you and your organization have done over the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate it. Thank you. And get ready for the storm. Hopefully all was going to be well with us.
No, and I just, if we can wrap up or just kind of say one thing in closing,
please.
Back to getting involved in the ecosystem. The buy local was always something when you talk about small business and things like that. I think that there are ways that you can invest in the ecosystem without investing dollars.
Yeah.
That you can be involved in this thing without being especially when you're talking about some of the AI stuff that's going on, like, I don't know anything about that, but you can be a sounding board, you can be a mentor, you can be an investor, but just to be aware and to say that, my town's got a startup ecosystem. So, back to being in a favorable location, my dream is that, we see we're always hosting the women's SEC basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And, I want somebody that comes out of that basketball tournament and they see a laptop sticker or a water bottle sticker that says Startup Greenville.
Yeah.
And they type that into their phone and they're like, there's a startup ecosystem here? I had no idea.
That's right.
There's no startup Brevard.
Yeah.
There's no startup Black Mountain.
Right.
But there's a startup Greenville.
Yeah.
And I think that really differentiates ourselves.
It
That
does.
one, there's a lot of stuff going here. And we all want to be part of this collective.
Yeah.
It makes us appear a lot bigger than we are, makes us appear a lot more organized than we are, but we're already big and organized. So anyway, it just helps drive that awareness, and that's one of the things that I want. You don't need to know all the words. You don't need to know all the buzzwords, all the nomenclature. But when somebody says a trigger word or something, you need to be able to say, you know what? Let me point you in this direction, and you should sign up for this newsletter. You should try to follow these accounts on Instagram, LinkedIn, et cetera, and just be aware.
It's like just raise your hand and get in the game.
Yep.
We've got a game here. We're playing it. It's a good game, and get involved if you want to get involved.
Yep.
Awesome. Founderville.vc podcast with Eric Weissman. We are over and out.